What is up, everybody? This is Wild Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is episode 80. We have another Unapologetic Friday today. If this is your first one ever, realize that this is not cut, not edited in any way. It's raw, unfiltered, and there's generally some cursing involved. So if you're in the car with kids, might want to turn this off if it's on the Bluetooth speaker and blasting throughout. Also, I'm going to set that timer. So I set a timer. It generally does not keep me on track whatsoever, but actually I'm pretty busy today, so maybe it will. That being said, let's get into things. So before I jump into actually reset timer, haven't started yet. Before we jump into things, I do have some exciting news coming out next week. So it's either going to be on Monday's podcast or it's going to be on Friday's podcast. So either episode 81 or 82, that there'll be a big announcement. So pay attention to that. And potentially Mondays might come out Tuesday just with the holiday. It just depends when I can get everything done. But with that being said, there is a huge announcement coming out next week. So with that being said, fuck it, let's go. All right, episode 80. Today's episodes, you won't be happy after you lose weight. So a lot of times we're trying to lose weight because we want to improve confidence. We want to improve our self-image. We want to have more energy. We want to improve our health. But reality comes down to that if you lost the weight today, we just snapped your fingers and whatever weight you wanted to lose, it would be gone. Whatever weight you would, the image you want for your body, maybe it's like, if you're like me, you want to be like ripped and jacked. Snap fingers, that happens instantly. You're not going to be happy because the weight loss, the destination doesn't give you necessarily the mental result you want. And a lot of people get wrapped up in thinking that, once I lose weight, once I do X, once I get X, I will be happy. I will be good. And coming from someone who's been in the bodybuilding world, that's just not reality. You're always going to be chasing the next thing. Something can always be better. You're going to look really good in pictures and then you're going to sit down and realize you have some rolls and you're like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. Or you're going to be like building muscle and then you realize that you're a little tight, or you're going to be losing weight and you're going to realize, I'm not as, don't have as much muscle as I'd like. My shoulders and back aren't as toned as I'd like, or my quads aren't as toned as I'd like. I would want to work on that more. So there's always going to be something that you are chasing. Always. And if you just are wrapped up in that, you're not going to be happy. You're always going to belittle your results. You're never going to think you're good enough. And this is coming from experience. This is a place I was in where you just want to chase the next thing. There's always something you can improve. And I'm all for constant improvement. You definitely should be continuing to educate yourself, continuing to work on your health, continuing to do all these things. But when you wrap up everything in, once I get to X destination, I will be happy, more confident, etc. That's just not reality. And so back to like the snapping the fingers thing. If I snap the fingers, you lost all the weight, you had the body of your dreams. Would you be happy, confident, etc.? Probably not. And when I've talked to people in person about this, a lot of times it's, well, no, then I would be worried I couldn't maintain it. Or no, that wouldn't act like my mental headspace would be still the same as I am today. Like, yeah, exactly. Nothing, like you would have that body, but mentally you would be still the same person you are. Because when we go on these journeys where, and this is why I say weight loss is a journey, improving your health is a journey, building muscle is a journey. All these things are journeys. Once you get to your destination, you had to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And during that time, that's where you actually built the confidence, the self-reliance and resiliency, and you improved your mental health. And that's where I worked really, really hard to do something. I'm very happy with the result. That's where the happiness is actually built. It's not in the actual result. Yes, it looks good to take pictures and like nobody's going to deny that. But going back, snap the fingers, it's like winning the lottery, like, yay, got it. Still the same person. when you go on a journey and you create all these new habits and you become that version of yourself you want to become. It's like the you 2.0. Like, I'm here and I want to evolve into this other person. Well, that's not going to happen overnight. It takes time to develop that. And you're going to have to, it's kind of like, some people equate it to like chiseling out like a marble statue. Like, it takes time, but it starts with you getting that block of marble and hitting the hammer to the chisel and starting there. And over time, you build out this beautiful statue. It's the same when it comes to your results. You're going to have to take time and work on these things. And sometimes you're going to feel like giving up. And you might need to take a little bit of a break. And then you're going to come back. But you never give up on it. And when you realize, like, oh, everything's not wrapped up in that result. It is the journey there. And then I will get to that result. And then I'll work on something else. And I'll do something else. And it changes your perspective on things, because a lot of people also think like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to be done. Like, no. Then you have to work on like the next thing. It's like, okay, now we have to reverse diet you. Then we have to talk about how you're going to maintain it. They're like, no. I thought I was going to be done. Like, no, this is just like part one. Now we have to learn how we maintain that weight loss. And like, wait, what? I just thought, it would be easier. I can just go back to things. Maybe I'll just lose weight again in the future. Like, no, like, it doesn't really work that way. Now we have to work on actively maintaining it. And that actually takes work. You have to continue to work out. We can't just like eat whatever. We have to watch it, what we eat it still, and all those things. So again, I've come from a place where I started building muscle. Like, that was my whole thing of like, I want to get girls. I had zero self-confidence and self-esteem. Like, it was a really bad place mentally. I was like, cool. So build muscle, girls like muscle, get girl. It does not actually work that way. Obviously, you attract the wrong type of people, which did actually happen. Or you attract a lot of dudes, which was something that definitely happened. So it's like the opposite effect. Like, I'm training and like, what's your split, bro? How many sets do you do for what exercises do you do for biceps? What do you do? How many sets for chest? Like, I thought the girls would be blowing up my DMs. Like, not actually how it works. And again, this is back in like high school, so 2008, 2009. Obviously, very different world online nowadays. Thank God I don't have to deal with that shit. I was talking to some of my friends with like the current dating world, and they're in their 20s. I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with this bullshit now. That sounds awful. I'm glad I met my wife at the gym and I don't have to deal with the whole online dating bullshit thing. Especially with like the weird way like social media has warped everyone's heads to like think of relationships and shit. I digress. That's going off on a tangent and not the direction. Just a random conversation I've had this past week with some of my coaching buddies. But so back to, I was at that point of, once I build X amount of muscle, once I put on 15 pounds of muscle, I'll be happy. Once I, so that was 150 to 165. Well, once I get to 175, I'll be happy. Once I get to 185, I'll be happy. Once I get to 200, I'll be happy. Once I get to 215, I'll be happy. Didn't fucking happen. Like, it didn't. It was, hey, like, I've built up confidence and everything, and I've gotten up to 215, and then now I've backed off. I'm like down to like 205, 206. Like, okay, like, no, like, it's the process that makes you happy. The building the confidence, the being able to be very capable in your body and being able to do things without second guessing yourself helps build confidence. And that confidence then leads over into other areas of your life, which I see with clients where like, hey, like they're no longer fidgeting at their meeting. Like they can stand up, give a presentation. They're not worried about how their dress or shirt is fitting them. They just stand up, give a presentation. They don't even think about it. And then afterwards they're like, I never like fidgeted and had to like pull down anything. Like I just presented. And when your mental headspace is 100% into that, that's where like, hey, like if career is important to you, I can move up to in my career faster because now I'm not worried about my physical appearance as much. Like I don't have to fidget around and do these things that are distracting me from focusing on giving this presentation. Or I don't have to like worry about like how am I going to look like when I get in the pool with my kids. I don't have to worry like if I get down on the floor, can I get back up if my kids want to, play around down there. There's a lot of things that when you build up that confidence, then you're not like belittling yourself all day long and get into a very negative headspace. Instead, it's a very positive headspace of like, and that's not like random positivities of rainbows and unicorns shitting rainbows out everywhere. Like I said rainbows twice there, but it's not that where when it comes to like a positive headspace, which I think sometimes gets woo woo, especially like more of like where I've come from, like since my parents were in the military, like that military tactical, like I like following people or into that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's like very, very like hardcore, like it positive headspace is not like the yoga side thing. It can be if that's you and that's your personality, but it can also just be like being able to be capable and just like doing the things you want to do when you want to do them without second guess, like not having your physical body be the limitation. Or even if you do have physical limitations, like you have injuries, like you're not too worried about the injuries. Like, hey, I just know I need to avoid certain things, but as long as I do that, I'm fine. I can do whatever. It's not like, I don't know if I can hike over that mountain over there. No, I can do that. I'm just choosing whether I actually do or not. It's different than like, if I get down on the floor, I don't know if I'm going to get back up, or if I stand up and get in pool, like what will the other moms think of? Like, I don't want to be judged. Like there's so many things that go, like if you live in that headspace, it's very, very negative. We don't want to be there. But if you lose the weight, you're still going to have that negative headspace of, what will those moms think of me if I get in the pool and like I look like this? They're gonna be like, oh, is she too good? Like there's a very also negative headspace. You want to get to a headspace of like, hey, like I don't care. Like this is me. This is who I am. This is the person I am. I don't think I'm necessarily better than anyone else. This is just what I do and who I am as a person. And this is what's important to me. And being in shape and being healthy and all these things are important to me and my family and my significant other and my friends. So that's why I do what I do. And it's a very different headspace. It's not related to a result. It's related more to the journey. The journey is what's going to get you there. And when you realize that, like the journey sucks too. Like there's hard parts of the journey. If you like, anytime I say this is like hiking up a mountain, like there's parts that are like enjoyable. And then there's parts where like it is a steep hill that you are walking up, there's no view and there's mosquitoes everywhere and you're like, this fucking sucks. And yeah, there's going to be parts of the journey that just fucking sucks. And you get to the top and then next thing you realize like there's a tree that's down and you're like, my legs are burning, I have to get over this, fucking mosquitoes are everywhere, I found a tick on me, now I'm like freaking out because of like it sounds awful, but then you get to the very, very top and you're like, oh my God, like this view is amazing, get relaxed. When's the next time we can do this hike? We actually have a few hikes up in Maine like that, whereas like the actual like part of the hike getting there sucks. And I always forget about it every time we do it. Like, man, I forgot how much this sucks because the view is so nice that you're like, shit, this is totally worth it. But what also makes things better is the suckiness of getting there. So there, it's been a while since I read the book. I should reread it. But in the book Comfort Crisis, like getting uncomfortable and achieving things gives us satisfaction. And the like, it's not like that instant dopamine release like you get like when you like open social media or eat like a bar of chocolate. Is more, it's a different kind of like release in the brain. And I forget exactly, I'm not sure. Is it serotonin? I don't, so don't quote me on this, but accomplishing something when you're uncomfortable brings you greater joy than if you don't. And Steven Ranella said this, the backcountry hunter. Those of you who hunt probably already know him. Those of you listeners who don't know him might know him from the show Meat Eater on Netflix. And if you don't know him at all, great storyteller. So if you've ever been interested in hunting, I like the way he tells stories about hunting. So it's great. A lot of people who don't hunt know it from Meat Eater because that's a great show since he's such a good storyteller. But Another tangent. The reason I brought him up is he said like the cheapest thrill is like a roller coaster. Like roller coasters are fun. You're going to get this massive dopamine hit. It's enjoyable for most people if you're like me and you like roller coasters, and then it's done. It's like up, done, and then you kind of forget about it. Like I have to like, oh yeah, like I don't talk about like these roller coasters. Like I like roller coasters, but I'm not, unless you're a roller coaster junkie, it's not like a great story to bring up. Versus like I'll bring up other stories and he'll bring this up with like his backcountry hunts and stuff, which a lot of times suck. They're hard. I'll tell this about some of my hunting stories or my backpacking stories of like, there's times where it's really fucking hard. Like when first time I went backpacking, it rained for 24 hours straight. We were soaked. Everything was wet. Absolutely miserable. You know what I want to do? I want to go backpacking. I'm talking to my buddy about potentially doing a backpacking trip in end of this month, end of September. Or hiking, like certain hikes just absolutely suck. And guess what? I go back and do them. And it's like, oh, yeah, this part sucked. But the view at top or the feeling of accomplishment is super rewarding. You wouldn't get that if you didn't work really hard at accomplishing something, like having a purpose to get to something. And that journey is what does it. So the point being, you're not going to be happy when you lose weight. Start working on those things now. Start appreciating the things you have accomplished and stop like comparing yourselves to others. Start looking at yourself. There's the timer. Start being kind to yourself and realizing like, hey, like 3 months ago, I couldn't do this. Now I can do X. 3 months ago, I couldn't stop myself every time like I opened a bar of chocolate. Now I can just have 2 pieces. And even though it might seem little to you because you want to get to this other destination, it's a huge win. And start celebrating those wins and realizing that that journey, like that's just going to snowball over time to becoming that person you want to become. And also remember that the person you want to become is still going to be you and still going to have flaws. So don't make this like picture perfect, like, hey, when I am this person, I'm never going to touch sugar and I'm never going to do this. And I'm going to work out 6 days a week and I'm always going to be motivated. Like that's just, that's a fantasy novel, not real life. So realize like, hey, like you 2.0, like that version of yourself you want to become, they're still going to be human. They're still going to have flaws. They're still going to want sugar. They're still going to get unmotivated. They're still going to have crappy workouts. Like that's going to be reality. It's just going to be a better version of you. It's the version of you want to become. And I'm not going to tell you what that version needs to be. What do you want to become? And now realize that you're going to become that person along the journey, not when you get to the destination. The mental side of things, that's the journey. Building self-confidence, building resiliency, building up willpower. All those things happen on the journey, not when you magically lose all the weight. And this is another reason why people who do the quick yo-yo diets, they crash diet, lose weight quick, and then regain it, don't have success because they're still the same person. They lose the weight quick, then go back to being that same person who had all that weight to begin with, and they go back to those old habits. And with that, that's today. So again, an announcement coming out at some point next week. Stay tuned for that. Big announcements coming out next week. So if one, definitely going to be all over social media. I'm not sure which podcast episode, but I know for certain all over my social media. So if you're not following me on social media, Instagram at Chris_PWC, TikTok at Chris_PWC, or Facebook, just Chris Heskett. You'll find me. It's a picture of like me, and there's a giant like megalodon shark mouth fossil behind me with my wife and my daughter when we went to the Baltimore Aquarium. So that group's down below, the Peak Weight Loss Secrets. You can also go in there, as the announcements will also be in there. So stay tuned for that stuff. And with that, happy fucking Friday, everyone.